listen to AG.
Ooh, Goodfellas.
Yeah, the Goodfellas. I was raised off of it because my brother, he used to play all that stuff all the time in the crib in '95. So that was like '95 was my 8th grade / freshman year of high school. So when that came out, that's all I heard around the crib. And that joint was amazing. Digging in the Crates crew, man. So that kind of put me onto their style and their game. So that was my number 5, and my number 4 was Onyx.
Back the fuck up.
Classic.
That was the second album.
What do you say?
That was the second one. All We Got Is Us.
Yeah, All We Got Is Us.
Yeah, that's underrated, bro.
That was so crazy because I was a young boy, but it was like one of my friends in high school named Anthony. He used to always have one of them kids in high school that always got all the fire hip hop music. He tell you he was like a dictionary.
Right.
That's how he was. He was like in all my classes.
Yeah.
So he let me hear that, John, and it was like their beats kind of sound similar to like my beat. So a lot of these beats was like dirty and like grungy, like the underground hood, smack you in your face hoodie beat.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when they came out with that, I had that on replay for like weeks and weeks upon weeks. So I mean, that's a classic. I think a lot of people forget about Onyx.
That Last Days record is bananas.
Yeah, that's that.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
that's one of the best tracks.
Hey, Brandon, what's that beat I asked you? When I said that beat, that's Onyx beat?
Yeah.
You told me, I forgot what beat it was.
That's Last
Days.
Days. Oh yeah, that was it's going to be like that. And then like
that's Onyx. Like I forgot that was Onyx.
They beat was killer.
Yeah, those are two.
You think that album is better than Back the Fuck Up? Onyx?
In a lot of ways it was, man.
Yeah, I think it
was.
Yeah, a lot of ways it was. Back to Fuck Up was kind of like a lot of it was like yelly and like they were younger and they just was like back. It was on the scene and then like All We Got Is it was darker, like kind of like the Infamous, almost like it's similar to the Infamous.
Exactly.
Yeah, more serious. Yeah. So yeah, we'll go top 3 albums, man. And I'll go. My 3 is Deshaun and Smith & Wesson, BCC, you know what I mean? Man, where do I begin? Buckshot, Black Moon put me on to the whole situation. Once I heard Black Moon, I said, okay, this is alright. Like this is me. This is where I want to be at. You know what I mean? They fit my description. And then they came out, Smith & Wesson was the next group out, and I'm like, okay, so like they got more dudes, like
yeah,
you know what I mean? And then they had the Bucktown, and I didn't get the album till later, but I had the maxi. I'm taking y'all back. Y'all remember maxi singles?
Yeah.
I had the maxi single with Bucktown, Soundboy Burial, and maybe it was like a remix of Bucktown with MOP or something like that. And them dudes, The Shining to this day, my PNC, I love that record. I can apply that to like man life skills, like that whole soldier general type of appeal that they had. That kind of like Buckshot had it too, but Smith & Wesson they were like generals. They approached rap almost like army,
right?
Like an army kind of brigade. So the Shining album, yo, that's my number 3.
Yeah, I'll save my comments since this is on my list too. But Armand just mentioned it. My number 3 is the Goodfellas album by Show and AG from Digging in the Crates. I just love that album. I mean, what I love about it is for Digging in the Crates, they're old school, okay? Show and AB they're old school. That's an old school group, and that album kind of reassured them to be like, listen, we're not going nowhere. Like, we can create that hardcore sound still. And compared to their earlier albums, I mean, like Runaway Slave, I mean, they're like 2 different groups. And just the production is much tighter, more 95. But when that Primo Next Level remix came out, man, I played that on repeat forever. Like, that song is still probably my top 10. I mean, I wish if I could keep track of how many times I've listened to a song. That's probably up there. So Goodfellas, I mean, just the album cover alone, its simplicity, Lord Finesse, I love him to death. Like,
that's crazy.
So yeah, that's my number 3.
Word.
Ah.
Word. My number 3, and I went back and forth on this because I had Lab Cab. I had Lab Cab at 4, and then I switched it. But I got Raekwon, and I want to say, I think it's an injustice to just say Raekwon because Ghostface is a guest star on that album, but really it's Raekwon and Ghostface made that album together. I mean, Ghostface was on, I think, 11 of the 17 tracks on that album. So, Only Built for Cuban Links is my number 3. I think that's, if not the best Wu-Tang solo album ever made, it's number 2. To me, it's between that and Liquid Swords. For many years, I'd always said Liquid Swords is my favorite solo Wu-Tang album. But as I get older, for some reason, and the more I listen to both, I think I'm shifting towards Only Built for Cuban Links. Raekwon just...
Purple Tape, baby.
It's just... goddamn. I mean, they're both so razor sharp on that record, and every track is dope. I mean, you can play it start to finish, and, you know... That the Purple Tape, bro. Well, what else can you say? Motherfucking Purple Tape. That's all. That's all.
Who we had? Me?
Right, Armand. No, he's
Armand. Go ahead. 3. Go ahead, Armand.
You know, as a Philadelphia native, I gotta go with the Roots. Do You Want More?
Yep.
One of my favorite songs and tracks of all time. Randy, we still be talking the Roots language now. Mamelo, my man.
Yes, sir. That's how I introduced my man Sing.
Yeah, Mamelo, my man. See, we still got the same lingo because I wasn't even on when you introduced me, but Mamelo, my man. You know, and you know, Proceed was one of my favorite songs of all time, though. Like, I Shall Proceed, but that's not really got introduced to thought. And like my cousins and my brother was playing that. I'm blessed to have, you know, older folks around me like my cousins and my brother because I was a kid listening to this type music,
right? You
know, and it's like classic. So I actually was playing that album like a couple of months ago during the summer, and you know, I was driving, and you know how you got your windows down, you drive. So you know, I don't blast my music no more, but then like the guy next to me, he heard it. And he was like, he just nodded his head like, oh, snap. You know what I mean? Like, he waved and just drove off. He didn't say a word, but he looked at me like, smiled, like, you know a classic when you hear it, man. You know what I mean? So that's my 3rd. I wanted a little bit higher, but I think that's the appropriate spot for that right now. You know what I mean? Because I may listen to that more than I listen to the one of the albums I got above that. So, but you know, I played a nice little 3. I think it's underrated though.
I mean, how do you feel?
This is we had this conversation before you got on. We feel like that's a great album. We appreciate that album, but we feel like the Roots kind of got better. You know, like
not better.
Well, not better, but the group reached the apex later on. You know, and
they knew stuff was fire, but it was like Reasonable Doubt. Like it was fire, but nobody really knew about it when it came out.
Right.
Like it was supposed.
Right. And Black Thought got better.
I mean, but that's the only album we can put in this top 5 group that didn't have like a single. Where you're like, oh, I heard that single on the radio. I mean, the single.
Clones was on there.
Nah, Clones is on No Doubt.
That's on No Doubt.
Oh, I mean, you're right.
As far as singles from that album, I mean,
you're right. Proceed was like kind of. I mean, DJ Ran was playing that Cosmic Cab, but that was on the late night.
But that's underground. That was underground.
The only time I saw Proceed when it was on the box. You remember the box? When they used to come on the box sometimes.
I mentioned that earlier. The box.
When they was playing in a little club down South Street, a little spoken word joint. They was playing the music.
Yep.
That's the only time I saw when they had to shot the video and then play it on the box.
Right.
No, I remember Do You Want More coming out, and an older friend of mine's sister picked it up at this spot in Ocean City, New Jersey, this little record shop, and it was not, the Roots were not known when Do You Want More came out. No. They were not popular. They were not well known. They were just an underground Philly hip-hop jazz group that not many people knew. Like, even after Philadelphia Half-Life, Things Fall Apart was the record that set them off on a national fucking scale. You know what I mean? People So, do you
I
want more
agree.
point?
I think Illinois Half-Life was a classic, and it still was like under the radar. It was like it still didn't get no buzz. Like you said, things fall apart. That's when it was like they started really getting some. I think was that the show with Erykah Badu, the Erykah Badu record.
Jill was the original. They removed her for the video, premises.
Yeah, she wrote it though.
Yeah, she wrote it,
but that's where because outside of Philly, like even Philadelphia Half-Life, I agree with you 100%, was a classic. Most definitely, amazing album. But most people didn't know it. The Roots were not. They were far from rich. You know what I mean? They hadn't made it yet.
Right.
They were still grinding.
Was they still popping overseas? Because they was always popping overseas, but I don't know if they was popping back then overseas.
I don't think
but
so.
They always
I don't think so.
They didn't have the money to go overseas.
Yeah, they was doing the chilling circuit, bro. They was running,
until after Half-Life
right.
They went overseas.
Right. Yeah.
Things Fall Apart was the breaking point where they
got a Grammy.
Yeah.
Let's move on, man. So we're going top 2. I'll start. My second album is we talked about Mobb Deep. My number 2 is Infamous. I just, like I said, man, like singing what you said earlier, you could play it from front to back to this day. Arguably could be the best album of 1995. You know what I'm saying? It's number 2 for me. And I've always been a heavy Mobb Deep enthusiast. Still to this day, Havoc production, Prodigy. When he was top 5 in the 90s, and the Infamous is my number 2.
My number 2 is The Shining. That was just talked about, but for me, being that album, I think is wow. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's because I smoke a lot of weed, or used to, or what. But just I loved how much they incorporated it as like they didn't. It wasn't commercial. It wasn't commercial. Like they weren't trying to be like, oh, go smoke weed. It was just part of their lifestyle, and they referenced it. And wow, I mean, we saw them live. Kick the Shine. I mean, it's just I don't know. That album makes me feel good. When I listen to it, it makes me feel good. And everything from the album cover design to the song titles, the abbreviations, PNC. I mean, just everything. I mean, and the songs itself, the album. When you break it down, I mean, they talk about just daily life that I could relate to. I mean, the Infamous, I just couldn't. I don't know, for some reason that just didn't hit me the same. I mean, but I'm pretty sure for me, The Shining is my Infamous. When people talk about that, that was that for me. Right. So, yeah, BCC for life.
Well, but like once again, if I'm going to Mars and I'm showing a Martian like the best '90s song, I'm just going. It's Shook Ones. Listen to this.
Yeah, Shook Ones. See, but that came out way before the album. I mean, everything came out before it dropped, and I was like, I was spinning doubles of Shook Ones, and like, I didn't even bother to buy the album because I thought that was the best track. Like, I don't know.
Go ahead,
Yeah, you're stealing my thunder, but you know what I mean.
Dude, we'll let you go first.
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait till I get to number 1 to talk about that shit, but. And Fisher, your number 2 is the same as mine. Smith & Wesson, The Shining is my number 2. To me, it's my personal favorite Boot Camp Click, Duck Down record ever. You can talk about Helter Skelter, Nocturnal. Yeah. You can talk about Black Moon, Enter the Stage. Yeah. You can talk about Buckshot solo albums. You can talk about OGC, The Storm.
Right.
But to me, The Shining by Smith & Wesson is the best Duck Down Boot Camp Click record ever. And that's for the simple fact that you had the Beat Miners on production, you had Evil D and Mr. Walt making every beat. There were some smoothed out motherfucking jazz hip hop beats, which I love. Mm-hmm. I love the
rough rhymes.
I love the intersection of jazz and hip hop when it's done right. When it's done right. And it's not like smooth jazz, but it's some fucking raw, rugged, fucking boom bap hard hitting jazz with hip hop intersected. And you can't ask for 2 better MCs to rhyme over that kind of beat than fucking Steel and Tech.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So The Shining to me